Okay, so we saw earlier on that we were able to find A, D, and L, but not the N value. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the formula from yesterday's class on the term of an arithmetic sequence, plug some numbers in, and see if we can find the N value. So if I just close that down, I'm going to erase this part. And so I know my last term is 5. My first term is 137. And I'm adding n minus 1 multiplied by a common difference of -4. So be careful about that negative there. So I'm going to take 5, I'm going to minus 137. So 5 minus 137 and -132. That's now -4 times n minus 1. So I'm going to divide by -4, which will give me a positive. So it's going to give me 33. And that's n minus 1. So I know my n value now is 33 plus 1, which is 34. So I have 34 terms here. Okay, so what I might do is start my sigma off by just using the formula I just created here for this, which is the Tn formula. So this would be this part right here, kind of working with that. So what I would say maybe is my formula is, let's use blue today. So I would say it's my first term, which is 137. And then what I'm doing is I'm adding, actually, this way I'm subtracting because it's -4. So let's say minus 4 times n minus 1. Now if I do that, if I choose n minus 1 as my pattern, then to get my first number of 137, I would have to have a lower limit that makes n start at 1. I'd have to have an n value of 1 as I begin. Now, fortunately, I've chosen n in 2 different places here, but that's not too difficult, I think. So our upper limit of summation has to be one that gives us our 5, so that's the last term here. So we have to have 35 terms. That's the rule. And we know that the number of terms in a sigma is the upper limit minus the lower limit plus 1. So if we have 35 terms, and that's equal to the upper limit minus the lower limit, which is 1 plus 1. Well, the nice choice of choosing 1 for our lower limit is it actually makes the upper limit 35. So that's just going to be 35 up there. Now, had you chosen a slightly different formula and started with a different n value, you would get a different upper limit. And there's a question on the last video from yesterday's videos that talks about that, if you want to go through there. Okay, our last question for the day is this formula they give us. The sum of the first n terms is 5n squared minus 3n. That looks quite complicated. And we're being asked to find the common difference, and we're being asked to find the third term. So what I'm going to do is write out just a few sums here to see if we can figure a pattern here. So I'm going to find the sum of the first term. So that means my n value is 1. So if I put 1 into the formula, I have 5 times 1 squared minus 3 times 1. And that would be 5 minus 3, which is 2. If I find the sum of the first 2 terms, that would be 5 times 2 squared minus 3 times 2, which would be 4 times 2 is 20. Sorry, 4 times 5 is 20. And then minus 6, and that's going to give us 20 minus 6 is 14. And if I look at the sum of the first 3 terms, that's going to be 5 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3. So that's going to give us 3 squared is 9, times 5 is 45, 45 minus 9. So that's going to give us 36 then. Now what's important here is these aren't the terms, they're the sum of those terms. However, for the first statement here, this S1, that's the sum of the first term. So that is the first term. So the A value here must be 2. Now if you take T1, which is 2, we just determined that, and you add T2, then this would give you the sum of the first 2 terms, if you added them together, and we know that that's 14. So we know that in order for T2 and T1 to add to give you 14, Well, that would mean that T2 must be 12. So this would have to be a 12 here. Now to that we're going to add T3. And that sum, if you add those three numbers, that would be the sum of the first three terms. So if the sum is 36, and the first two terms add to 14, we could minus 14, and that would give us 22. So we can see here that this is arithmetic, where we are adding, well, how much do you think we're adding every time? What do you guys think the D value is here? So it looks like we're adding 10 every time, so common difference of 10. And our third term, T3, is equal to 22. So that covers the answer for A. This would be the answer for A, I guess. The common difference is 10. And this would be the answer for B. The third term is 22 here. That's a little bit more complicated, a bit more algebraic, but I think you guys can handle that. So I'm going to post some questions for you to do on the Google Classroom, and hope you guys are doing well. Take care.